social gaming. So you can see how broad the landscape is, and it can be overwhelming. The reality is you can't do everything, and you shouldn't do everything. You've got to focus on the things that make sense based on your line of business and the type of media and content that you're going to share. So it's big picture, don't let it scare you off. So you want to pick just the things that make a difference. Focus, the few that matter, given your audience, your content, and the intent of your sharing. Which are the tools that really matter today? I mean, when we're talking about your personal and professional profile, we're really talking a lot about these tools. And you know what? I echo Bonnie's sentiments. LinkedIn is the place where you should have your professional profile. And you know what? You should put your picture there. And you should not worry about age discrimination or, based on any of that. Because any company that would then use that, you wouldn't want to be associated with or network with anyway. Did you know that 85% of companies now recruit through social media and collaboration tools, and 95% of those use LinkedIn? So if you want to know how people are recruiting these days, that's how they're recruiting people. So it is important, and you should put your picture out there and let people know about you and what you do. There are a lot of tools. I mean, you know what? You asked the question about how do you sort of separate yourself. You know what? I have a Facebook account, and I only have it for my personal, my personal life and my personal friends and my family, right? I put pictures of my kids up there, but I don't share that with my professional life. LinkedIn is my professional profile. That is the place I talk about business. That is the place I share my business content. I do not put pictures of my kids up there. So I use social media to separate my worlds. In Facebook, you can also have other pages. You could have a business page about a home business that you have, and then you can decide whether or not you want to share that with your personal social media avenues or your professional ones. So there are ways to use social media to separate out all the different versions of yourself and the things that you're interested in and the things that you do. You can have multiple Twitter handles, for example. This being the landscape, I do highly recommend that everybody use LinkedIn as your professional profile. However, you're going to probably also need another place to share some of your content. I do know that you can upload things like documents to LinkedIn, but that's not the place that you would generally collaborate on them. So for example, if you're working on a document with some colleagues and you feel like this is really good content, I'd like to share this out as an example of a great business analysis document or a good use case study or something, put it in your Box account. Box is free, it's available at Yale, and anything you put in Box, you can get a URL to that file, and you can post that URL on LinkedIn. SlideShare, so that first one with the two little people at the top in the corner where it says presentations, SlideShare is actually owned by LinkedIn. I do presentations all the time. I put them on SlideShare. My SlideShare account is linked to LinkedIn. Anytime I post something new, it automatically sends notification over. Everybody in my LinkedIn network sees it. You can actually link your LinkedIn account to your Twitter account. So Twitter is, as you know, 144 character, short, sweet, more of like a marketing blast. And it's okay because there are different people that are listening on different channels. And sometimes, I post a lot of things that are very short, but I create the links to them. So you can actually also post to LinkedIn and get to, your Twitter account at the same time. So it's really about how you can network and collaborate with all these things. And I know, again, it looks very overwhelming, but if you really think about, hey, I'm going to put my professional profile on LinkedIn, and I'm going to pick the one or the two places where I have other content, and that's the place where I'm going to put my content when I decide to share it. And those places have to be appropriate. If the presentations, SlideShare is probably a great place. If you do a lot of video, right, probably YouTube is a better place for that, right? And you can share all those things. So again, pick the tools that you want to use, separate your worlds if you feel like it's necessary, but most of all, you can actually connect these, and I'll talk a little bit about interconnecting. But LinkedIn really is the place everybody should have a professional profile. So again, not every role in our organization is visible, and unless you're out there doing presentations or have a leadership role, you may feel pretty invisible at Yale or in your group. And so social media is a way that you can raise your visibility, raise your profile as somebody that is an expert in that particular discipline, both at Yale and in the outside world. So visibility really is about professional branding. It's about projecting your image, about identifying yourself as an expert. I also recommend that you do stay focused on a topic, focused on your discipline. And that will change over time, but if you're posting about everything, nobody will really, everybody will look at your profile and look at the things you post and really not have an understanding of what you're an expert in. So even though you might be interested in 1,000 things, pick the 1 or 2 things that you're really striving to be seen as an expert in, your discipline, your topic. In the last 2 years, I was able to take probably the driest IT topic known to mankind, service management. Most people don't even know what it is. But I was able to talk about it enough, talk about it passionately. I put Yale on the map for service management and is now seen as one of the world-class. I shared our documents, I shared our roadmaps. It's now seen as one of the world-class places that does service management well, talks about it, shares, and consults on it. So we did 8 to 10 consultations every year with other universities, other places. They asked us to start going to talk at conferences, sitting on boards. We're part of the New England Users Group for ServiceNow and with other universities. And so you can become an expert and be seen as an expert in your field if you put your work out there, you're willing to share, and you're willing to collaborate on it. So that's something to think about. Again, stay focused. Pick something, pick 1 or 2 things in your discipline, stay focused on those. Personal professional branding is kind of interesting. A lot of people are trying to create an image that's more like the little guy on the left, and you know what? It's not. It's not about being this unapproachable red carpet. Notice the ropes are there, right? That's the guy you want to be. You want to be the guy that is focused, on their topic, on their discipline, and people are looking to you. This person is surrounded by people who are looking to them for advice, looking at them like they're an expert. That is the image you want to project, not little guy, walking down the red carpet. So think about that when you're talking about your work and talking about the things that you want to do. So Bonnie covered a lot of this, but I'm gonna just go over it again really quickly. The first step is having a rich social profile, is talking about yourself. Sometimes it's very hard to do. People have a difficult time. I don't like to talk about myself. Well, you know what? It's time to crack it open and talk about yourself a little bit. You need to talk about your education. You need to talk about your jobs. You need to talk about your titles, but not just that. Other roles you've got in the organization. So you may have a job title, but it's not the only thing you do. You may have several other roles or act in a capacity on boards, on committees. List all the things that you're doing. All that stuff is important. LinkedIn lets you put your project work. There is a place where you can put a project that you are working on, and you can also link to the other people on the project. So right now I'm working on business continuity planning. So I put up something about business continuity planning, and I added the person that I'm working with on it. It shows up on their, they have the option of adding it to their profile, or it shows up on my profile right underneath the job. So I was doing that in this particular job, that project shows up underneath it. It's a way to show the kind of work you're also working on. So not only your job, the things that you were doing, the projects you're participating in the context of that job. Your coursework and seminars. So where am I going to get all my coursework? How many of you have taken a course at the Learning Center? How many of you listed it on LinkedIn? Ah, what a shame. Did you know you can go to TMS and you can list all the courses you have taken at Yale? And you know what? You should put them all on your profile. It's really nice to be able to say, I took the leadership course at Yale. I took the, managing with excellence. I took managing up. I took, you know, how to delegate, how to keep teams motivated. All of those things say, when I put those on my LinkedIn profile, I am an engaged manager. I care about my people, and I took a bunch of courses related to that. So do that. How many of you take courses like Coursera? Do any of you I take free courses all the time. Coursera, it's free, right? A couple of weeks of my time. I put those out there too. If you take other courses related to your discipline, put them out there. It tells people that you are continuing to study and learn about your discipline and your craft. Also very important. Awards, certifications, and associations. How many people here feel like they're formally part of the Women in IT group? Right? You subscribe, you come to our events. How many of you have it on your LinkedIn profile? Oh, hint, hint. List your professional associations as well. Okay? I'm a project manager. I have my PMI certification. Anybody else have their PMI? Is it on your is it on LinkedIn? Good, nice job. So that's the sort of thing. If you have a certification related to your discipline, put it out there. That's important. If you're part of ITS, how many of you have ITIL V3 certification? ITIL Foundations. A lot of people, if you're part of ITS, you've got that certification, put that on your resume on LinkedIn. It's important. A lot of people look for that now. If you blog, if you write articles, if you do anything like that, link that content. And then most of all, again, sharing your work, whether it's on Box, whether it's on SlideShare. Hint, when this presentation is done, I'm going to put my presentation up on SlideShare. It's going to show up on my LinkedIn profile. You're welcome to connect with me. You'll be able to replay that anytime you want to see it. You can search for me, search my content, find it, replay it. And that's how people, again, begin to see you as an expert in a particular area. So the next step, so that was all about you. So now, the next step is you got your profile set up, it talks all about you, your expertise, the things that are important to you. Now you collaborate. So that is joining groups related to your discipline, related to people that have other skills like yours. Give and get recommendations and endorsements from people. If you have worked with somebody on that project, reach out to them and say, hey, we worked on that project together. You know what? I'm really working on my profile on LinkedIn. Would you mind giving me an endorsement or a recommendation about the time we worked on that together? Honestly, a LinkedIn recommendation does not have to be more than a couple paragraphs, one paragraph. I worked with her on this project. She was diligent, took excellent notes, and was able to, you can even sometimes write it for them and say, I'd like you to say something similar to, we worked on this project together and, I contributed, in a really positive way to the team. And so you can do that, and it's okay to do that. And it's reciprocal a lot of times. Hey, you're willing to do that for me? You know what? That's a great idea. Will you do mine too? Yes, excellent. So you can do that as well. Then you start doing things like looking for articles that are in your area of discipline, posting them, but not just posting them. I'm going to talk a little bit about do's and don'ts. Don't just repost. Everybody reposts. Read the article and say why you found it interesting. Did you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Do you have a different point of view? That's what makes you an expert in your field. It's not just reading and posting. It's about saying, what about that article was important to my discipline, and what is it that I'm trying to share with you? I'm saying read this and I don't agree with it. Or I'm saying read this, this was fascinating. Here's the point I want you guys to read about. That makes sense. And then ask for feedback about your work. I'm going to put this presentation up there and I'm going to ask for feedback. And if you thought this presentation was good or you think it needs work, please send that back to me. Comment on it. I will not be offended. It is the way content gets better. I've had 100 ideas made 100 times better by 100 people every time. So please share and also be willing to accept, criticism or thanks for your work. People want to see it. People that are doing similar work want to see it. And sharing in your community is what makes you an expert in your field, in your area of expertise. So, again, all these things interconnect. Google and your Gmail and your Google Plus account is the same thing you log into with YouTube if you have a SlideShare account, oh, LinkedIn owns that, they all connect. You can connect to Twitter, you can connect to Yammer through Twitter. These things all interconnect. You just have to know which ones you're using and how you're gonna do that. But if you consider the fact that with one post on LinkedIn about my SlideShare, I can get it to LinkedIn, I can get it to Twitter, and I can get it to Yammer with one post. There is a way to traverse all of these things together. That's sort of the advanced version, but you should just know and be aware. One way to collaborate is to just link them all together in a chain, post in one, and let it roll through. So here are my do's and don'ts for social media, and I'll just go through these pretty quickly. I know we're getting a little tight on time, I think. One is the editorial section. People post things that they read all the time. I already said this, don't just read. It's not about reading and sharing what you read. It is, but post your opinion. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What does this mean to your discipline or your area of expertise? Post something, talk to people, post it into a group and talk about it, even better, right? If you're a business analyst, jump into the business analyst group, post the article, say what you liked about it, say what you didn't like about it. Say, gee, I wish they did more examples. Has anybody done an example like this? Can anybody share one? You know, or, hey, I like this and I tried it. Here's the example. Here's the document that I've created following the article's advice. What do you think? Get people talking about it. And they say, hey, this person's willing to share. And again, that sort of puts you out there as somebody that's sharing your content and that you're willing to put yourself out there, which makes you a leader in your space. Following and kinship. This is the stalking slide, I call this. So I want to give you some advice.
Social media stalking.
Find inspirational people or the people who you know lead in your field and follow them. Whether it's on Twitter or LinkedIn, connect with them. You can also look at people's profiles without connecting to them. And let me tell you, you should also be following your boss and maybe even your boss's boss. And here's why. Don't you want to know what they're reading? Don't you want to know where their influences are? What my boss has been reading, maybe he's been reading a lot about outsourcing. That's interesting. What does that mean? It's a bad example. But you know what? They're talking about, budgeting. They're talking about, following, your supervisor or your director or your director's director. Following up the food chain is an important part of getting some insight into what they're reading and what they're thinking. The other interesting thing is if you in fact have an aspiration to climb the ladder slightly from wherever you are, it's a great thing to do is know what are the influences of people that are in roles that I want to be in. So I don't want to just be in my role. I would like to be maybe in my boss's role in 5 years. What is he reading? What does he read? What does he look at? What groups is he part of? Which companies is he following? These are all really good things. So I call this the stalking slide, but truthfully, you want to find inspirational people and follow them. They'll also help you model your behavior. So if social media is new to you or a little confusing, you can also just watch other people that are really good at it and get the hang of it. So this is a good one. Find the people, look for them, know the companies they follow, watch what they read. You can even start interacting with them. So sharing your work, I already talked about this. If you're proud of it, share it. If you blog, put it out there. If you have documents, or you worked on something, big report, strategic plan, whatever you worked on, put it out there. People will appreciate it. There are other people that are doing similar work. They will ask to see the work. They will comment on it. They will thank you for sharing it. And you'll be, again, being able to be seen as an expert in your field. And then branching out. So finding interest groups and participating in them, starting conversations, asking for advice. That's another good one. Is put something out there. I have this situation, blah, blah, blah. What would you do? Get people talking. They will give you good advice. Then let them know how the situation turned out, what advice you took, what worked, what didn't. That's what these things are for. Groups are a way of having a community of practice of people that are doing similar work, similar discipline, will really help you in your career, help you in your field of expertise. And then reaching out to individuals for advice. So this is when you look at that broad list of contacts you have, look at all those people you followed, when you have a situation that you feel like, I really need some one-on-one, People will not refuse you. It is called social media for a reason. People put their stuff out there, they make themselves available, and they are willing to socialize. The very first thing I did when I got this role was I searched LinkedIn for people that had a similar title. There's very few. There was half a dozen. One of them was on my connection list. So I sent him a private message and I said, can I call you please? I have to write my own job description. And I'd like to know a little bit about how you found moving from your job to this role that I am now doing the same thing. The person was completely happy to share their expertise. People want to do it. It's called social media for a reason. You can do things like that. People will appreciate it. And then in turn, also, you talk about a call to action. Contact me if you have any questions about, my work or what I'm doing or this presentation or any of my content, right? Put your own call to action that says, hey, I'm out here to talk too, so feel free to consult with me if you have any questions. People will actually take you up on it. So again, these things all interconnect, SlideShare, LinkedIn. You can get from LinkedIn to Twitter. If you're on Twitter and use the hashtag Yam, it goes to Yammer. There's a way to link all these things together. I'll be writing short articles about these in the future and how you can connect one to the other, to the other, to the other. I'll do it piece by piece probably through my blog in the next coming weeks, but just so you know that these things all do interconnect, so you can get from one to the other. And this is like the important slide I wanted to share with you. This is my Klout slide. Klout is a way that you can measure. It's a social media impact measuring tool. You log in, you connect all your social media accounts, and it checks and sees how many people are following you, how many people repost, how many people share, how many people look at your content, and it gives you a score. If your score is around 63, you are a very high-level influencer in social media. The president is like a 99, and Katy Perry's a 99, and Justin Bieber's a 98 or something. So anyways, for us regular folks, if you're somewhere in the 60s range, you're a really good influencer of social media. Here's really interesting. You see the big bump right there? That was December for me. I put the little arrow there. That is the day I connected SlideShare to LinkedIn. And over 2,000 people downloaded my roadmap for service management and my placemat for service owners in like 2 days. So if you don't think sharing your work has an impact, that is the proof right there. Now, you don't have to measure yourself with Klout. It was just, I do that because now it's part of my role, and I'm into social media, so it's what I like to do, right? You don't have to measure yourself. You will know by simple intuition how many people are resharing your content, how many people are trying to connect with you, how many people are asking you questions, people that are responding to the things that you're posting. You will know by simple intuition that your influence is increasing. That's the proof right there. And then, the results, realistically, it's visibility. That's what happens when you put your work out there and you put your roles and all your stuff out there. People will say, oh, that's what she does. Oh, those are the things she's worked on. Oh, those are the projects. I didn't know she had that certification. People will know more about you. You will begin to get recognition in your field of expertise. People will see you as a leader, and you'll also get some professional growth from that. Again, social media is like a community of practice. You can share your experiences, look at other people's, share information, advice, and the only thing it does is it makes you better at doing your job professionally, increasing your craft. So you will get personal growth from that. And overall, when you take all of that and you put it together, it creates opportunities. I would say I've been at Yale for 27 years, and of my 27 years, I've had 19 jobs. And of the 19 jobs, I only applied for maybe 5 or 6 of them. Every other job was given to me or asked me to take. I didn't have to apply for them. People have given me opportunities, mostly because I promote the work that I'm doing, I share the work I'm doing, and I've always done that, which is why I think this is like a natural role for me, is to talk about how you use work sharing and sharing with others, social media, collaboration tools. You know, before there was all this stuff, people were still sharing work, it was just different. You know, we sneaker netted it to each other, or I'd print it and hang it up in the building and on my outside my office wall or cube wall. So, you know, before there were these tools, there were other ways to share, and I've always done that. But realistically, when you have personal visibility, you will be given more opportunities. Take two people, one of them engages in social media, puts their profile out there, shares their work, talks about it, treats it like a community of practice. Believe it or not, you know, once you have this going, it really doesn't take a lot of time. Maybe an hour a week, going through, reading, or at the end of a project, posting some key documents, talking about them for like a post-mortem almost. So it really doesn't take a lot of time to do, but you take two people, one that's engaging and shares their work and another that doesn't, that person that's sharing is out there, that person is visible, that person will get more opportunities, they'll be asked to speak at conferences or asked to share their work or be recruited, imagine that, getting job offers just based on the fact that you're out there and sharing your work. It's possible and it happens every day. Again, 85% of companies are recruiting through LinkedIn, 95, you know, are recruiting through social media, and 95% of those are using LinkedIn. So I say LinkedIn is the place to start. You can continue to branch out from there, but Yale's a world-class organization, and you should have a world-class profile that talks about what you do, and you should share your work. And that is how you can get personal visibility by using social media.
Thank you, Adrienne and Ryan. So I don't know if we have much time for Q&A. I would encourage you all to reach out to them through their profiles in here at Yale through the directory. But I also wanted to make sure we showed our appreciation to them by giving them a bulk of pretty paper and a piece of chocolate. So there's just a bunch of paper you can use at Christmas time as a chocolate.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And because we don't pay people, we ask them to do stuff for free. Thank you for coming today and sharing your knowledge and information. Like I said, I hope this is actually a first in a series. Feel free to connect with us and give us feedback. These events are not just for women in technology, they're for women across the campus, or any men too. So you can all come, bring your colleagues, share the information, and we hope to see you at our next session. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Any questions?
We'll have the slides too.
Yes, we're going to put the slides up, and we
Maybe we'll
actually
have
did record this, so if you want to go back, or if some of your colleagues missed it and are interested, we will have that edited and posted to our website. Okay?
So do we have Women in Technology website? I'm sorry.
It will be, so it will originate from the Women in Technology website, but obviously the video will probably be on our YouTube channel.
So do Women in Technology have a group presence on LinkedIn yet?
I don't think we put a group on LinkedIn yet, so we're on Twitter and we're on.
Not yet, but maybe we want
Do you
to.
have suggestions about how we could use it to help women at Yale? Or?
So I think, like the IT group at Yale, I think it's a good way for us to actually connect with our colleagues who are spread out across campus and let them know what they're working on and what they're doing. So it's just like creates a little community within LinkedIn, so we can see each other's profiles, but we can also see what others are working on.
You can keep it closed.
Yep, and it's the one is a closed group. That's the one you manage. Yep. So it's going to be a closed group, and then someone.
Absolutely, you can have it closed in the beginning.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your wrapping day.
I will, thank you. And chocolate, yay.
I had to do a
I
try.
know, you had to divide
So
up.
give me back my fancy wrapping paper. I'm just kidding.
No, it's good. It's exciting. I think it's daunting to think about starting.
So I think what's next, I think what we should do is workshops where we sit there around the round table and like work in groups to sort of help people with their profiles. I think that's the next step. And we should go, like I said, with the other city groups, as we're going out to people that can't always get all the way over here, so we can find strategic locations on campus to kind of pop up and walk
I
around.
think people like me, I want to get started.
Yep.
Something around that. Yeah, how do I get started?
I'm one of those people with 8 lives, so, it's very difficult. My Facebook is all about, what I like to do. Well, there's, it's very difficult because I have a nonprofit working on it.
difficult to pin down and all. Yeah. And what do you put up there? Do I put
Yeah, which is what. So, put all of them up there.
I put, you know what I did was, I took the last 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But then what I did was I created another job and just said, prior to this role, I've had a variety of roles in IT.
Yeah.
I started in this date
Yeah.
and I've
Yeah.
done da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I listed
Good to
the other,
see you.
10 roles. So there's a way to do that too. But still to get credit for your time here at Yale. How long have you been at Yale?
16 years. See?
Sharon.
Long time. I know. I wish I had started doing this some years ago, but no time for the president. But thank you. It was great.
It's fine. It's good, but it doesn't make it great. Like going to get a new car, or else I'm gonna dye my hair. That was great.
Fantastic. I'm a hugger.
Me too, I'm always worried, like, don't wanna reach out.
I'm a hugger.
Mixer's
So
actually
I'll
right here,
late
Okay.
but
the rest
on
of
the second micro.
this winter.
That was that's not what's bad there.
So that you're
It is, but there's parts missing. Some cables and the antennas were missing.
I'm gonna post my presentation, and if you have any suggestions or anything for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like really? So.
Always looking for feedback, right?
No, that's okay. What if he
We're like, going too fast, have too much content.
It's new to so many people that you just like fix the panic manufacturer. And you know what you're talking about. He had some great anecdotes, I think, that really illustrated like why this is just the project working by itself and by chair and showing that I was thinking, I don't have my like cooking coaching for but projects, yeah, I have. Not that I had that. So you were just giving me a lot of really interesting. So I think really on the road.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking is, I was gonna post that and say, you need to talk about how to